Hello and welcome back to the For the Badge podcast. It's the last weekend of the Premier League before the World Cup, and we're doing a little preview and, of course, some predictions. All right, we will start with the first matchup of the weekend, 7:30 in the morning. Brentford visit the Etihad, and both Xavier and I have predicted a Manchester City win. I definitely think that Brentford are struggling. They're not in a good way right now. They've definitely, even at home, struggled to score a few goals. And I think that Manchester City are going to be way too much for them. It's just going to be business as usual for them, really. I feel like they are super strong at home, especially if we look at the last two games they played. Uh, Definitely played a stronger side in the EFL Cup than I might have thought. But it was Chelsea, so they definitely took it seriously. But even against Fulham last weekend, they just uh, took it all in stride, even that red card, and were able to really make the best of a bad situation, even with Holland not even in the game. And so I think that they're going to have that same kind of spirit at home always. That's why they're so consistent. And I believe it's just going to be too much for Brentford, who away last week to Forest did okay. Some tragic circumstances to give up that goal at the end, but I don't think they're going to have much. City's just locked down, and I don't think they're going to score at all. Yeah, I said 3-0. I think that's just going to be an easy performance, especially if Holland is in the team. It's definitely going to be too much for Brentford. Moving on to Bournemouth versus Everton at the Vitality Stadium. This one was an interesting one when I was thinking about it. Bournemouth have not been good defensively at all. They're atrocious on corner kicks. And Everton have been good defensively. But yet, Bournemouth have scored a lot of goals recently. It's interesting that they're scoring all these goals, but they're still giving up lots of goals and to not managing to see games out. I think it's 4 losses since they went on that undefeated run right after Scotty Parker got fired. It's kind of turned back around for Gary O'Neill, and I think that Frank Lampard on the other side, under pressure again after the loss in the midweek in the cup versus the same opponents, played a weakened side. I've read on the BBC that some of the Everton fans maybe were happy with the weakened lineup, especially since Everton haven't won a trophy in a long time. So they were maybe thinking there might be more of a go. I definitely think there'll be more of a go here in the Premier League. These points are super valuable, and but I predicted a 1-1 here in this 1-1 draw. I just feel like Calvert-Lewin will have a goal in him. I feel like Everton should bring some energy. They've been a bit lackluster of late, and so on the balance, I think it'll be a 1-1 game. Xavier disagrees. He says that it will be a 1-0 for Everton. Maybe a prediction with the heart there for old Frankie Lampard. Next up, Southampton. The visit Anfield. And Liverpool, I feel like, are in the ascendancy. It was a tough game away to Spurs, and then a tough game versus Derby County. Obviously, fielded a weakened team a little bit, a few changes, and they went all the way to penalties. They'll be happy to win in the penalties versus Derby to avoid embarrassment there in what was a tough match. I think that Southampton are going to struggle at Anfield a lot, and I think that something I'll be getting into later on. I think that some of these players, it's up in the air on whether some of these World Cup players are going to maybe take it easy in this game or not. Who's focused on what? It's an interesting topic that I've been thinking about the past couple of days. And I think that Liverpool are just going to be too much at home once again. Mo Salah is definitely going to be, he's been getting better and better as the tournament gets closer. I think that's a big one for him. He's probably going to want to stay with the momentum, get a goal, keep going on, keep pushing on. For one, because if I'm not mistaken, Egypt are not in the tournament. So he's going to want to finish on a high note right before this break, maybe coming at a bad time for him. But Southampton just don't, they haven't been good away. And I do think that Liverpool are going to have too much for him. I said it's going to be a 2-0 for the Reds, and Xavier has predicted a 1-0 to Liverpool. Next up was another really, really interesting fixture that I thought about. Both teams are in interesting moments. Nottingham Forest are just they've been really bad recently, but at home they tend to bring the energy and performance. Um, Crazy games. Beat Liverpool 1-0 at home, and then lose away to Arsenal 5-0. And then a dramatic draw with Brentford. I don't know. This is at the City Ground. It's tough. It's tough. And Crystal Palace's away form has been uh, not so great, but Will Saha's always got a goal in him, I think. And it's interesting. Palace's season has been so interesting. I feel like they've been a little bit unlucky at times, but I also think that they have the quality. I've definitely said it, especially if Edward comes back for this one. I think that they'll be a little bit too much. I mean, I've picked them in the past to be better. I've picked them to, and it's I don't know. I just think Palace are going to edge it this time. I do think Nottingham will score. I said it was going to be a 2-1. Xavier says a 1-0. I think at home they've got a goal or two in them. They've had all season. They have had all season. It's just completely different form at home, and so I think couple that with Palace's kind of uh, interesting, somewhat lackluster, a bit more on the road. I think that Palace will dominate the midfield. I don't think that they'll. I think they'll go for this. I think it'll end up being a good 2-1 win for them away from home. We got another tasty, tasty fixture at the Hotspur Stadium. Leeds visiting Spurs. I'm actually looking forward to this one in the 10 o'clock window. That's going to be the one I watch tomorrow. Absolutely. I'm hoping and thinking that predicting even that Leeds will bring the energy like they always do. They know it's going to be another game like the one at Anfield where they're going to have to bring absolutely everything. It feels like that's just the way Leeds play, and it's been some real, real entertaining stuff. Not least of all last weekend, home to Bournemouth, which was such an interesting match. I just think Jesse Marsh's team, they kind of go out and they play with so much heart, with so much energy. You love to see Tyler Adams and Brendan Aronson doing great right before the World Cup starts. I think Tyler Adams is a monster on this Leeds team. He's very, very important to this Leeds team. I think he'll be the same coming up here in Qatar just a few days' time. But I think away to Tottenham, he's definitely still going to have his focus on beating Spurs. They're going to need to because it'll be a tough game. Obviously, Spurs are going to sit back. It's no point saying it'll be the same thing from Spurs because that's just the same thing. It's getting monotonous. So I think that if Leeds can do exactly what Liverpool did and get the goal, maybe two in the first half, uh, then they're going to have to withstand the pressure in the second half. It's there's kind of a blueprint, an obvious blueprint to these games for Spurs. They're definitely going to, at some point in the game, bring a whole bunch of energy. We know that. That's just been how every single game they've played is played out. So it's just going to be interesting to see how deep Tottenham are going to sit if they bring that energy, that boost before halftime. Uh, you just never know when that's going to come. It's usually come right at halftime. If it comes before halftime, maybe they'll be okay. Uh, and they've got the quality to do it. I think Harry Kane is going to want to stay in his red hot form. Harry Kane's an absolute animal. He's going to be a monster in Qatar, and I think that I personally believe that, well, at least Harry Kane, he's a consummate professional. I think he'll definitely be, have his mind at the game. Definitely thinking about this Leeds team. They're dangerous. They're energetic, and you can't look past them. Even with the World Cup looming, you can't look past this team. I think it's going to be a barnstormer. I myself have predicted a 2-2. Definitely think Leeds have goals, but I also think they can leak goals at times. So this one I think will be a draw, 2-2. Good result for Jesse Marsh. Xavier disagrees. He thinks that the Spurs are going to take it 2-0 at home versus a Leeds side that sometimes you don't know what you're going to get. But I definitely think they're going to bring the energy, and that it's going to be a great match. All right, the last 10 o'clock slot tomorrow is at the London Stadium. West Ham versus Leicester. Leicester is such an interesting proposition nowadays. They've only given up 3 goals in the last 5 or 6 games, I think was the statistic I read. They've been pretty tough. They've shored up defensively in this run. So it's another team that I'm not sure, never sure what kind of performance they're going to have. They're so inconsistent. And so I kind of stared at this one for a minute, and I came to the conclusion that West Ham are kind of the same. They've dropped off. They're they're solid. They're solid all around, but they seem to be underwhelming this season, underperforming a little bit. And I think some of them maybe look a little bit leggy. It's been pretty truncated as far as the schedule, as we know. West Ham have been playing Thursday games in the Conference League. Note that nobody's talking about, so they're definitely just as fatigued as the rest of the teams at the top. I think James Madison will obviously be buoyed by being selected for England, and I think that he'll be one as far as the whole idea, the whole thing about who's going to be have an eye on Qatar or not. I think James Madison will be one that will want to perform. He'll want to come out and have a barnstormer. He'll want to come out and have a great game. He'll be desperate to score because not only now that he's made it, this game might be his only one, his last chance to impress Southgate as far as playing time goes in Qatar in a couple weeks. So I think that it's going to be an interesting match. I just think it's going to be a stalemate. I think that they're kind of going to cancel each other out, but I think there will be goals. And so both of us actually have predicted a 1-1 draw, which I think is about right. I think it's kind of just going to be a stalemate, and that Leicester are going to continue to march on, continue to improve. They're doing well. All right, 12:30, St. James's Park. This one is going to be very, very interesting. Again, it comes down to the lack of consistency, the unpredictability of Graham Potter's side this season. They were dreadful at home last week. To be honest with you, they didn't show much in the derby, and they're gonna have to, honestly, gonna have to bring even more than well, obviously they're going to have to bring more, but they're going to have to bring even more than we thought against Arsenal. I definitely thought that Arsenal could have won by more, and so I think that Newcastle is going to be way too hot to handle for Chelsea, especially if they bring that kind of performance. They come out the same as they did. Even though they did made some changes for the EFL Cup, they did look a little lackluster in that game as well. I know it was against Manchester City, so it's tough to be effective when you don't have the ball that much. But I think this is going to be a really, really tough match for Chelsea. And I just think that Newcastle are flying high. Miggy Almiron is playing out of his mind. I think he's definitely in for another goal. I myself have predicted a 3-1 Newcastle victory. I just think that Bruno Guimaraes is going to be another player trying to get playing time in Brazil. So I think he deserves it, honestly. Good grief. Man is on fire. Man is crushing it So I think that, especially if Chelsea bring the same kind of formation and don't have anybody really filling in the space in the center attack and midfield, I think that Guimaraes will just run this game, just control the midfield. Um, and Newcastle are absolutely, they're just so quick. They're so quick on the counter, so quick on the break, and he just has eyes in the back of his head. Able to make to play the pass. That's unlocking all kinds of defenses this season. So I think Newcastle are going to be way too hot to handle for Chelsea, and it's tough to predict another bad result for Chelsea. They've been on a poor run recently, but I think it's going to be a really tough one for them. It's going to be really, really tough, and we're gonna have to see a performance like they haven't had in a few games. They have to bring a whole bunch of energy to this one to match up with Newcastle. Like I've said before, St. James's Park is going to be a nightmare to go to for Arsenal. It was already trouble for City this season. I don't think anybody's going to have joy there at all. And yeah, they're going to be way too much for Chelsea. I predict a 3-1 victory for the Toon Army. And of course, Xavier is going to go with his heart. You got to back the boys. I understand he has predicted a 1-0 win for the Chelsea Blues. Alrighty. The Gunners visit Molyneux in what I'm thinking is just going to be a another as you were performance, and we're going to stick to the top of the table at Christmas here for the World Cup. It's going to be lovely. Obviously, a great time to be an Arsenal fan. I think that in our game versus Brighton in the cup, I felt like it shows a little bit of it definitely shows two things. My biggest thoughts on the game were that Eddie Nketiah scores a beautiful goal. Reece Nelson breaks into the middle. You love to see Nelson in a good game. Love to see him continuing to improve, continue to drive at defenders. You really love seeing that. And then lays off a perfect pass, and Nketiah finishes it like he's done it a million times. Just loops it over the goalkeeper. It's gorgeous. But my question is where is that? Where's that in the Premier League? When you come in, when we need something, when we need somebody to bring a spark, where's that when you come on into the games? Where was that at United when you were thrown on? I'm just wondering why he's just so inconsistent when he can do that. I mean, even in this same game, he missed a couple of other chances that he should have scored, especially after showing the ability to score such a beautiful goal. It's kind of baffling. But I think the other point I wanted to make about the Brighton game is it shows the drop off in quality that we have from the first team to a almost full second team. It's just a different Arsenal. It's just a different team, and that could be a weakness going down the stretch. Hopefully, in January we can add a little strength to the squad. I think that on the whole, I'm not too worried about the loss. It's good to not have those fixtures next January. Honestly, is the only positive about it, really. Uh, Again, it just shows you how the lack of depth we have when at the end of the game, Jesus came on, Odegaard came on, Partey came on, Jacques, like everybody came on, all the starters came back on. And so we don't really have that much as far as squad depth. Um, there are bodies there, but some of the quality is a little bit lower. Definitely Fabio Vieira again didn't impress. So I think that in January we're definitely going to bolster the squad. But I also think that last game in the Premier League for before the break, they're gonna bring it again. They're definitely gonna have the energy. We always bring that energy and start really fast. I definitely think that Wolves are struggling right now. Did get a new manager, or are looking at a new manager. I'm not sure if they signed him yet, but I think that we're going to be way too much for them, and she's going to be locked down. I look for Gabrielle and Saliba to have another great performance. We'll see who starts. Tamayasu might be rested again because he's going to Japan, he's decided. are going to Qatar for Japan, I should say. I think that we will. I think we'll come out and we'll blast them away. I'm hoping for another beautiful performance, and we can go into the World Cup on top of the table. I myself have predicted a 3-0 win to the Arsenal, and Xavier has predicted a 2-0 win. Sounds about right to me. All right. On Sunday, we have a couple of very tasty fixtures, very difficult ones to predict for me. Unai Emery and Aston Villa visit Brighton. Tough matchup, especially since the performance against Man United. And then again, for both of the performances, really, they were they're a different team already. It's clear to see, and so I think that against another interesting prospect, another interesting team in Brighton, who kind of starting to get it right under De Zerbi. I think that this one, I think it's gonna be a good game. It's gonna be a really good game. I've predicted a 2-2. Um, I just think Brighton have goals at home. They're going to bring a lot of energy. Aston Villa are going to match that energy, I believe. I think that we're going to definitely. It's a new era. It's a new day at Villa. I think there's going to be some consistency, more consistency in performance than there was under Gerrard. Emery's that type of coach. He's kind of a long-term guy for sure. So I think that this new look Villa is going to be a bit more compact. They're going to stop giving up as many goals. They're going to stop just coming out trying to hurt people like they were doing under Gerrard. It's going to be a bit more quality focused than instead of being kind of super physical and super tough. But I do think that if Brighton can, hit some of the heights they have this season, I think that they're going to do well as well. So I predicted a 2-2. I just think they're gonna, in the end, it's gonna be tight. There's gonna be, some missed opportunities that maybe somebody should have won it, but I do believe it will be a 2-2 draw. Xavier agrees with me. He has predicted the 1-1 draw. Now we move over to the last game of the weekend. Fulham host Manchester United at Craven Cottage. I read earlier that Alexander Mitrovic will not be playing in this game, which changes everything for me. Uh, I predicted a 1-1 draw. I definitely think United have struggled away from home, especially last weekend. You look for them to have a better performance, obviously bolstered by their win in the Cup. So I definitely think that it's going to be a different match, a different kind of team than it was last weekend. Uh, it's Van de Beek is just not working out there in the center for United, so I'm wondering what they're going to bring. If they're going to even address that or if he'll be in there again. I think Fernandez will be back for this game. I think he was back uh, for the cup game, so I think he'll be back in this one as well. It should be a good one. I think it's going to be a tight 1-1 draw. Xavier has predicted a 2-0 for Manchester United over Fulham. I just think that Fulham still have a goal or two in them, even without Mitrovic. I just think that he changes the game so much for them. He kind of, just the way he controls the ball and holds it up is just so important for them. Lets them get out. They're able to possess the ball more. It's just they're a whole different team with him in the side. But they proved that without him, last weekend against City. They can still defend well. They can still be really tough to break down. And I thought they really gave it a go. Yeah, that bad mistake kind of cost them the game. That happens sometimes. I just think that they're going to have enough to steal a point, or not steal a point. They're going to have enough at home. Craven Cottage is a tough place to go this season. I definitely think they'll have enough at home to get a point out of this one against a United team who tend to have struggled so far away from home this season. Or that Ronaldo was sick. He may not be. He may not play. He may not play. Maybe resting for the World Cup. Maybe not. But I think that this could be a tough match. Could be a tight 1-1. Xavier thinks it'll be a 2-0 for United, so maybe it will. Maybe it could be. I could see that happening if Fulham don't defend well. and are under a lot of pressure. I just think they'll be a little bit better than that, and they'll be able to defend well, and it'll be end up being a 1-1 draw, and I can only hope. Right now, I after last weekend, I did take a 5-point lead in the For the Badge Predictions League, so that's all good news. Definitely feeling good about the Prem, feeling good about this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun games, a lot of interesting matches, and it's the last weekend before the World Cup. I couldn't be more excited for that tournament, but I know I'm going to miss the Prem for a month at least. So definitely a lot of good things coming. Go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Pretty me know what you think about my predictions in the comments down below. Definitely check out the World Cup videos that have been coming out. I'm pretty excited about those. They're still pumping out. So stay tuned for those. Go hit the little notification bell. That'll let you know when those drop. And we got a couple more things coming your way before the World Cup starts. I am very excited about the World Cup preview show, and of course, we'll do a mid-season review of the Premier League along with tomorrow's and Sunday's games. So, got a lot of stuff coming at you real soon, and we're looking forward to the World Cup here at For the Badge. So, stay tuned, and I hope you have a good night.